Hi, my name is Nguyen, and today on Smash Course American History, we will be talking about progressives. Mr. Nguyen, I know a few things about progressives. Like, did you know the name your price tool can give you a rate that fits your budget? Know me from the past, progressives, not progressive. Anyway, the Gilded Age very much messed up a lot of things. People work in harsh and dangerous conditions, the wealth disparity was huge, and the government was massively corrupt. The progressive era was very much a response to these problems. So the goals of the progressive movement was to solve these problems through economical, political, social, and moral reforms. They believe in a big and strong government, a government that would actively regulate society to protect our liberties. And they were successful. Their impacts can still be seen today. Let's go to Cheyenne, Lozano.
Good morning, Ty. Amber and I decided to take you and our viewers down to some of our favorite places around town as we explained about the different leaders and actions of the progressive era. First, we passed by Bright Beginnings Comanche Middle School. This is where educational progressives such as Booker T. Washington and John Dewey focused their energies. Booker branched off into civil rights within education, and Dewey led progressive education through his idea of learning by doing. Next, we stopped downtown where we visited the Dodge City Daily Globe and the First National Bank. The Dodge City Daily Globe would be where various muckrakers and authors would publish their works against different industries and discrimination at the time. Ida Tarbell and Helen Hunt Jackson would both be good examples of this. While Tarbell focused on the history of the Standard Oil Company, Jackson focused on the U.S. Native policy. We associated the bank with President Wilson because he worked a lot with the monetary system and tariff during his presidency. One of the laws passed during the time was the Federal Reserve Act that would work as a safehold in case an economic crisis would arise in the U.S. Then we went down to Wyatt Earp and visited the railroad. The railroad industry was a very influential industry, and there were many movements against it. One of the leaders, Frank Norris, argued unfair business between railroads and farmers. Eugene Debs argued for workers' rights, and he was head of the Pullman strike. William Taft empowered the Interstate Commerce Commission to set railroad rates. There is even the Erdman Act that prohibited discrimination against railroad workers if they were part of a union, and it provided for mediation of railroad disputes, no matter how small. Then we headed down to Wright Park, where unfortunately we scared away all the children. But at least they don't have to work in factories or mines anymore, thanks to progressive workers like Lewis Hine, who would raise awareness for children labor through his photographs, and the Keaton-Owen Child Labor Act that prevented us from using stuff produced or mined by children under the age of 14 or 16, depending on the work. Next up, we went down 14th Street, and this street holds many of the major stores in Dodge like Walmart, Walgreens, and Dillon's. We thought this was a good example of the Sherman Antitrust Act because it shows how many stores like Walmart, even though they're big, they weren't allowed to become monopolies within the industry. Though some could argue Walmart is a branch within itself. One of the more interesting places we went to was Ford County Lake. We chose this place because it reminded us of conservationists such as John Muir and Theodore Roosevelt, who instead of working for the people, they worked to conserve nature. And both of them were able to get the government to set aside tens of millions of acres for natural forests and natural landscape. After our fun down at Ford County Lake, we headed down to the feedlots and Cargill, one of the two meat packing plants within Dodge City. Of course it didn't smell very good, but we had to deal with it. We decided to go to Cargill last because the meat packing plants are very influential on Dodge City and impact us the most. Samuel Gompers fought for workers' rights. He was responsible for one of the first labor unions created in the U.S., and now there are many, especially some within the plants itself. After that, we headed back home to prepare for another day of history learning.
Thank you, Shane. That was great. Although you did forget to mention one important thing about our boy Teddy. Theodore Roosevelt broke up so many big monopolies that he was known as a trust buster. Although Taft did broke up more monopolies than Roosevelt did. I mean, who doesn't hate monopolies? The game is confusing and it takes forever. And all you've got by the end of the game is a buttload of fake money and broken friendships. So thanks, Teddy, for breaking up those monopolies. But he didn't want to break up all monopolies, only the bad one. So Monopoly One Direction Edition, don't worry, you won't be breaking up. It appears the Monopoly Roosevelt broke up were not board games, but in fact big companies. Oh, it's time for the mystery document. Alright, I'm ready. Who's that? Document. The rectangular shape suggests that it's an essay paper, but the length to width ratio shows that it's more likely to be a book. Also, the sharp 90 degrees angles indicate that it is written by a man. I'm gonna say it's Wealth Against Commonwealth by Henry Lloyd.
The Jungle by Upton Sinclair.
Well, that was my 48th guess. I didn't pick The Jungle because it was the iconic book from the Progressive era. And for good reason, its graphic depiction of the meat industry created the Pure Food and Drug Act. So now when you're eating your bag of Cheetos, you know exactly how you're killing yourself. As you can see, the Progressive era was pretty awesome. But like most things in American history, it was only awesome if you were lacking melanin. Under the new Mississippi Plan, African Americans were unable to vote. The Supreme Court stripped the 14th and 15th Amendment of their meaning, especially in the 1896 case of Plessy versus Ferguson, which declared that separate but equal facilities were allowed under the 14th Amendment, which was bonkers. And every year 100 African Americans were lynched. So yeah, the Progressive era was pretty great, but it wasn't that great.
Math Source was produced by me, Nguyen, and Cheyenne Lozano. Our director is me. Research was done by Cheyenne Lozano and me. The show was written by me. And our graphics team is me, myself, and I. Thank you for watching, and as we say in my hometown, don't forget to be agnostic.